Hello, this is Nicholas Tanek with YourKinkyFriends.com. I have a wonderful, wonderful guest with me today. A wonderful guest with me today. We are going to talk about being a professional dominatrix. We're going to talk about Arabic women. We're going to strong, arrogant women. We're going to talk about psychological domination and chastity and sissification and forced feminization and sadism and masochism. It's going to be.
Yes.
Please welcome the magnificent Mistress Qadira.
Hello.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, let's see. I got into the kink scene at a relatively young age. Spent most of my life overseas though, and I spent most of my life in Jordan for the most part, traveling around the Middle East with my family. And I got to come, I'm born American. I got to come home in 2001. And I started modeling, doing things like that, helped me pay for college. And I quickly, through modeling, got into kink and kink modeling and all that stuff. So there's more to that story, but this all started a very long time ago.
Yeah, you started modeling in 2002, 2003, but you started dating a professional dom.
Yeah.
And that's how you got into it. And
yeah.
Okay. And on in.
Well, there was a little bit of when I was, and I'm trying to remember the timeline perfectly, but I think it was like by 2002 I was doing some very kinky photo shoots, and like an example of one was I topped and bottomed in these shoots, just whatever they needed, depending on what they needed, and then I did a quick what was supposed to be a quick tickle torture scene, and I refused to ever bottom for anything like that ever again. After that, like, nope, not my thing. But yeah, I met her, and I'm not going to reveal any names because she quit a few years later. She was kind of towards the end of it all, and I actually didn't know what she did for a living when we first met and clicked and connected, and eventually she felt like she could trust me enough, and she said, "Hey, look, I'm seeing this new client tonight, and I really need some help. So can you bodyguard for me?" And at the time, as thin as a rail, built up muscles, pixie haircut about that long, bright red, always wore leather, always had knives on me. So despite how, and I'm nearly 5'8", so I'm tall. And she took me with her to be her bodyguard a couple times. And I kind of fell in love with it and started mentoring with her.
That's awesome. Okay. So every, dom has their, kind of specialties, but like, and everything, it always changes. What are your current favorites right now?
I'd have to say, Impact is always a personal favorite. And I'm not saying just like 90 minutes of an impact scene or something like that. Just there's so many different forms. There's rough body play. There's like, what are some of the other ones? Well, that's not considered. Playing around with somebody's nerves is always fun for me. As is corporal punishment. That's one of my favorite things to do with the right person, knowing that they've done this before, they have some experience with it, because corporal punishment's extreme. So
when you said playing around with someone's nerves, like, can you please expand on that?
So you have like, if you can think of either for a massage or for, well, let's use massage as an example. They'll find like something on your skin that, okay, well, there's a spot, you're really messed up over here, that there's a lump in there, let's get that out. And that's all muscular. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking for is like a cluster of nerves, basically. And I'm not using medical terminology. It's really basic. Like, there's the trigeminal nerve goes through here and it branches into your face. Oh, yeah. But there's a spot right above the ear right? That can be extraordinarily painful. You need something sharp, but it can be very painful. And also, mind you, that's a good spot from like migraine sufferers and things like that to like ice the area. It can help them with it. So I know a lot about how to access certain nerves in the human body and how that can either help somebody with pain or help cause pain for somebody. So
what would you say, what nerve is the if to cause pain, what is the one of the most painful nerves you could kind of cause pain to?
A lot of people, and mind you, there are some that you just should not ever play with, obviously.
I'm talking in strictly place,
Yeah.
BDSM.
So this is the clavicle.
Yeah.
And along the clavicle, right, and it's different from person to person. Move my head out of the way here. It's different from person to person, but you can trace right under the clavicle here. There's usually a point near your arm, so around here, that if you push in across, like start, and just keep pushing in, and you're gonna feel it hurt a lot more. It'll shoot down your arm.
Yeah.
And you get both of those, one this side, one on the other, and some people just crumple to their knees and they can't take it.
You just go to someone and go,
yeah.
Wow, that's good to know. That's good to know. Oh,
another one is the idea. So there's a band on the leg as well on the outside of the thigh that you can get that hurts. I mean, I don't care how fit you are, that thing's gonna hurt.
Nice.
So,
okay. Interesting. Yeah. Now we're talking about you said that like you always have knives on you. Now are these for like protection purposes or BDSM purposes or both?
Both.
So you do knife play, in other words. Okay, so when it comes to knife play, a lot of people are can get kind of freaked out by it. So how do you keep it safe? How do you keep knife play safe?
I mean, inherently it's risky. Even the dullest knife, if used, or if it slips or used improperly, I get it. We all worry about that one in a million incident that can cause somebody harm. But if I have like a set of 3 knives, they're all rather large. They're lovely. They're just contoured in such a special way. I adore them. Unfortunately, don't have them with me right now. But they're each, it goes from extremely dull, like duller than a butter knife with one of them, to, you're going to feel a little bit of this is kind of going to feel like a knife on your skin, but it's not going to actually scratch you, to the third one, which is just razor sharp, razor sharp. So, and depending on the person, their experience, what their requirements are, there's a lot of people that are like, I cannot risk having a single mark on my body. But I want to play with, I want to do knife play. I'm like, all right, it's not going to be the same experience, but there's a way for you to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, do you? Because I know a lot of knife play is just like the sensation of the knife and the actual risk factor. But some people like to get cut. It's like, have you cut people? Like
yes.
Okay. Okay. And all right. So that knife play now. Every dominatrix has a style. I'd like to think, and please, if you have another, idea about this, I think there's like a spectrum, and there's the very sensual dominatrix, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the extremely sadistic dominatrix, and people are mixtures of both. And do you lean to one side more than the other?
Not really. And I'd throw in nurturing as well.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't necessarily call a lot of what I do like the sensual style. It's, I can be extremely sadistic with you, but I'm going to be nurturing about it to make sure that you are, because a lot of people think I can take it, I can take whatever you can throw at me. Look, man, I've been doing this for a long time. There's a lot I can throw at you. There's a lot I can do to you. So communicate, keep with me, keep talking to me during the scene, especially at those, first few sessions together. There is a very strong nurturing side to me, which it's one of the reasons that I found peace with my sadism.
Interesting. So yeah, it's a good way to have balance in it. Like for example, I live with my dom, and it's not we don't live at 24. Don't live the 24/7 lifestyle or anything like that, But and we play with other people. But she's very she could be sadistic, but she's more nurturing than she is sadistic. You know what I mean? And which is kind of interesting to me. So let's. All right. Before we get to the other stuff. Vetting. So, what is the process? Like, you don't have to give it all away because I'm sure you want to leave some cards close to the chest. You know what I mean? But someone wants to contact you and hire you as a professional dominatrix. Obviously, if you don't know the person, there's a risk. So
Huge.
what do you like? What do you do? What and if let's say you don't know me, and what advice would you give to me for reaching out to you?
Well, luckily, my website just launched, and I created a very detailed application form for any submissives interested in seeing me. And there's some things in it, like I can go through it a little bit. There's some things in it that are there to catch red flags. There's some things in it that help me figure out kind of who the person is and what they want to get out of the encounter. And on top of that, all the information garnered once that application is sent to me, I then double check it. Like if they say that it's a required field, have you worked with any other pro-doms at all ever? You have to tell me who they are, because I will go to them and ask questions. I want to know that the person they're safe, obviously. I want to know that they're safe. I want to know that they're sane. I want to know what their experiences and background is. And I'm not saying I'd turn somebody away for being new to this, but I'm going to check the data that you send me. So if you say, hey, I live in Long Island, but I work for this one corporation, blah, 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 and I look it up online, I'm like, that's funny. That corporation doesn't exist there.
Well, you're not on LinkedIn.
or not on LinkedIn. And the thing is, not to frighten anybody, but we all need to know that the people we're working with are safe. And I'm perfectly happy to provide references for myself to a submissive that feels the need that they need to know I'm safe to work with. I have other pro-doms in the area that I trust that are very close friends of mine. I have had people I've known in the community for ages that can vouch for me and my play style because they've seen it at parties, they've seen it at events. So I would not expect somebody to give me this information about them and then be like, oh, well, don't need anything from you. It's fine. Ask me for references. I'm cool with that. That's
references
fine.
Go a long, long way in the kink community.
They do.
God, I even write in the book, Your Kinky Friends, I write about it. I was, Lynn, my story. Lynn passed away, and my two friends, Randy, her and her friend Cassie, who's also a professional, who is a dominatrix, a professional dominatrix.
Mm-hmm.
They I was feeling all bad, the pain of loss. They're like, well, you need to have some fun, and we're gonna give you references to all the people we know, and then wow, did that open up a whole new world for me. You know what I mean? And, shout out to Randy and Mistress Kathy. But one thing, which I say this all the time, rule number one is don't waste the dominatrix's time. Don't do it. And read the website. She might not be into what you're into, and don't ask her for something that's you could talk about it and be like, I'm also into this. I don't know if you're into it, but and stuff like that. Okay, so Jordan and long stints in Lebanon, Egypt, and Cyprus. In the kink community, we'll get to the question that we talked about an Arabic raised woman becoming dominant. But I'm just curious. I'm really curious about because I believe that there's some kind of kink community in everywhere in the world.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere, right?
Oh yeah.
So how would you say it's different in those countries as opposed to here?
Well, I haven't engaged in kink in any Arab country. I'm very careful about who I work with, and even on a personal, in my personal life, which I do, there's a big there's a big gap between what I do professionally and personally. So I know that the kink community exists out there. It exists in larger numbers than most people think.
Okay.
A lot of it, in some areas, they kind of, what is it out here? I've heard more than one person say, well, if you're a swinger, you're not necessarily kinky. You're just a swinger. And that, I'm not a swinger at all, but that can very easily be somebody's fetish or kink.
Of course, yeah. I believe
like,
anything that's sexual expression that's not just like missionary style is
yeah. I mean, hell, you could have just, hey, look, the only way I can get off is missionary, and that's
that's fine
whatever
too.
works for you.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. If you change your location on FetLife to an Arabic country and just check the numbers, there's a humongous community out there.
Yeah.
I wish I could speak more to what it's like, but I honestly have no idea. I'm very curious about it because of the way power dynamics work in those societies. Like, how is it going to manifest at a kink party or at a swingers party?
Definitely.
So
yeah, that is really interesting. So, all right. How is this is a question we worked on together, So, how did this happen that an Arabic raised woman became a dominant?
So, I was born here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually firstborn in my family, firstborn American in my family. I'm very lucky. And my folks took me back once they had my sister. We all went, and they took us and moved back to the Middle East. I was 6 at that time, and we were living in San Francisco. Like one of the most. My dad took me to the Pride Parade.
Oh, cool!
Twice.
Yeah,
like,
I love San Francisco. I've been there several times.
I have this great memory of it too, and so I was affected by these things when I was very young, and then to be moved to Jordan, and it's so different there that I had to find coping mechanisms. It wasn't just about culture shock. It was, I don't believe that I am property. I don't believe that I belong to my family or belong to my father or uncle or grandfather or husband or any man that I'm attached to. I don't belong to these people. And I'm not saying everybody has that viewpoint in the Middle East, but in certain families, it's extremely oppressive. And we didn't live in the best part of town for quite some time. And those countries are a lot more dangerous than most people would think. So I'm not one to ask for a male relative. Like it's Jordan. There was no requirement to wear a hijab. There was no requirement to wear a burqa. And they definitely said, oh, you still have to have a guy walk with you that's a family member, or you can't do this, that, or the other. I'm like, I have to go get groceries. I'm not going to sit around and wait for one of you to feel like driving me there. I'm just going to walk. And I learned a lot, and I never did stop making those walks on my own, but there are, smallish gangs out there that are extremely terrifying. And having to survive that, it kind of changes you. One of the first experiences, and I don't mind discussing it because I think more people should know, one of the more important experiences that made me realize, okay, I'm not just this bossy little girl. I'm not just this opinionated child. There was a group of men following me, and they just wouldn't stop. I made several turns and everything. They just wouldn't stop. So I decided to take out one of my knives and start running towards them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
a big one or...
Well, I didn't have the big ones I have now, but you know, I mean, it's one of those kind of pseudo legal switchblades. It's got the little nub on it, switch it up, but they don't, in that culture, they're not going to expect a woman to run at them with a knife, you know, screaming bloody murder as it is, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, I started threatening them because they've been doing it to me. It was the same gang been doing it to me over and over and over and over again. And I couldn't take it anymore.
Wow, it takes guts too to do that. You know, I mean, even if because you have a weapon, I mean, it still takes guts to pull it out and, you know, and use it. You know, so that's quite a story, and I'm very, very glad you told it. But nobody got hurt in the long
run. Yeah, people got hurt.
Oh shit. Okay.
I got hurt. They got hurt. A lot of people got hurt.
Oh no.
Because some of them were smart enough to just say, oh my God, there's a woman running at me with a knife. Fuck this. And they ran away. Some of them did not. They were like, what? I'm guessing, and I've always guessed, the mentality was, who the hell does she think she is?
Oh, so yeah. So they're like, you got to put her in her place or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it sucks. I'm sorry you have to go through that. I really am. Okay.
But it made me realize, you know, I was always the one, like that whole concept of children are meant to be seen, not heard. It's pretty much that, but for women over there. And again, not every family. I just want to be sure that I'm not generalizing about the culture to the point where people are like, hey, my family isn't like that. Of course they're not. Nobody has the exact same dynamic in every family. But, you know, this concept of, you know, you're going to do what you're told, you're going to go to school, you're going to graduate with this degree, you're going to marry this person, you're going to have this many children by this age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My life had been planned out for me. And I was immensely valuable because I was an American citizen.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
So anybody that married me, they got the citizenship too. So I had to find my way out of a lot of, well, I hate to minimize it by just calling it a jam. Like, I had to find my way out of that jam. But I did have to find a way to protect myself. And I'm not saying that violence and the difficulties inherent in those societies is the only reason I became and realized that I was inherently dominant. My grandmother was too, to the best of her ability, and she inspires me to this day. She passed away a few years back, but she was an amazing woman. She was an incredibly strong woman. She was an entrepreneur in a country that didn't allow them. Yeah, she was an incredible person.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so all right, let's get back to straight up kink, a little more lighter. Let's talk about locking cocks up and chastity.
That works for me.
All right, so I know you know you do it. Do you have anyone locked up right now?
Yes, I have 3 clients, 3 of my boys locked up right now. One of them is a sissy, and I love working with sissies. It is so much fun. And the 2 others they're just really into chastity play. So
interesting. Okay, so are these people you see in person, or is it just online, or what?
I don't do a lot of I'm not opposed to it, but I just haven't done a lot of online domination. I prefer to work with people in person and then follow that up with phone calls when you're traveling for meetings and things like that. Do text, phone calls, video chats, things like that. Just so that, because especially with anything involving behavior modification, you have to keep after it. You have to keep going.
Yeah, and it's a responsibility to keep going to chastity. You know,
I'm sorry?
it's a responsibility to keep someone in chastity, to be a
It
keeper,
is.
you know.
It
But
is.
what
Yeah.
whenever I'm locked up, Miss Melissa, my dog, she just constantly sends me porn all day. Just constantly sends me porn. And she's like, "Did you watch it?" And she'll like quiz me on it. You know, like it's like I think it's 15 minutes long. She's like, "Well, what happened?" You know, at the end, was he unlocked? Did he come? Was it, you know, like he quiz me on her to make sure I'd watch it,
Good.
just so I'd be
Awesome.
like bulging out of it.
Yeah, and especially like I love what it does psychologically to both people that are involved in it. The longer you have somebody in chastity, the more their behavior changes and the way that they perceive sexual stimulus changes. And that's why I really enjoy the long. Not that I don't have fun with short-term chastity. I really enjoy long-term chastity because
that's the next question. What's the longest you've kept someone in?
It was about 6 months.
Well, for me, it's been 2 weeks.
It's a difficult thing, but I'm not. I guess I have kind of a different way of doing most things, and there are times where, okay, you've surpassed my expectations. You've done all, we've gone through your routines, or depending on the person, routine, ritual, whatever. You've stuck to things so well. You're filling out your journal. You're doing everything you're told. Like, and this is more specific to sissies, that I'm proud of them, and I'm like, you know what? Use your magic wand tonight before you go to bed. You're not allowed to take the cage off, but you can come inside the cage with a magic wand up against it.
Yes. That's happened to me. One thing and I write about it in the coolest way, is that the first time I was like on it, I was locked up. It's like I noticed that I began paying attention more. I began listening. I began being more thoughtful. You know,
thoughtful, attentive. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to behold. You know. All right. So
Yeah. So speaking of chastity, right? Plastic, silicone, or metal?
I prefer metal.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, that doesn't work for a lot of people because they have to go to work in it. So plastic, depending on what they wear, what they do, it really depends on the individual. You got to pick what's right for that person. But I have this system where you can actually find these on Amazon. They're numbered locks. They're these like plastic numbered locks, right? So if I tell them, okay, well, every morning you switch out from this one to this one, or just during the days of the week, Monday to Friday, you wear the plastic one, and on the weekends you wear the metal one, assuming you don't have anything going on. But I can keep track of that
because of the number. Yeah.
So, and they're supposed to keep it in their journal. Like, I took off number blah blah blah, put this one on, put that one, and so I want that cataloged for them as well, so that they can look back on what they've done, on what they've achieved over time.
Yeah, and how, like, especially like years later, they reread it and they're like, "Oh, I was a different person."
Right? Yeah.
We did a shout out to Mistress TEA. We did a whole episode on just Locktober, and for Locktober, it's like the person's locked up for the whole month. She had 3 subs. It's a great episode. Check it out. Just look up, just go to the search button and your kinky friends, and type in Locktober. You'll find it. And she has 3 subs, and all 3 of them wrote letters, and she read each letter. The whole episode was just about that. The whole was just about Locktober. We did it on the last day of October, on Halloween, which is great.
Nice.
Shout out to Mistress T. She's awesome. Okay, sissification, forced feminization. I absolutely love, sissy porn and femdom sissy porn stuff. A lot of the sissies that that I interview, they get, like their interviews get tons of hits. They're so it's a passion of mine. It's a passion of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say let's put it this way. Let's say I'm a cross dresser and I'm a closet cross dresser, and no one knows about it. What's the right way for them to approach you to start, and what would be the process of sissification or forced representation?
Well, I mean, email, text. I prefer the application on my site. But once contacted, really, like, I understand people are afraid for their privacy, but no information is going anywhere. Nothing that I get from somebody is going anywhere. Nobody else gets to see it. Nobody else gets to ever know about it. And I encourage, like, they will eventually get their sissy name if they don't already have one, and we'll be using that name along with the correct pronouns. There is I don't want to say there's this process that's like set in stone, you do this first and this second and this third and this fourth. I really, part of the reason I enjoy this work is because I can tailor it to that person, to their struggles, to their stress, to their history. And that's what makes me, and that's not just the case for, sissies and forced femme. Right. That's the case for all of the people that end up working with me. So for there are some common themes, and I think I've already mentioned journaling. That's a massive one. Using the correct pronouns. I want you to feel during your workday, I want you to feel a little feminine 24/7. So there will be an article of clothing that nobody else can see that you'll be required to wear. If possible, also a cage. Depends on the person's life, like I said, but ritualizing self-care and feminizing self-care, making it like, I want you every single night, part of your ritual is to read a teen Vogue, because I want them understanding how women are, how we go from being, young women to experienced older women. So I want them to read the magazines we all read. I want them to experience these bubble baths and manicures and pedicures and all these things. So it's kind of like walking them through what it's like to be a woman on a day-to-day basis. But it doesn't have to be this public thing. You don't have to go get a mani-pedi in public to where people see you getting pink nail polish. You can learn how to do it yourself. So it's, I just remembered the other thing. I'm going to be opening my munch back up. So another way to approach me will be to come to one of my munches. Okay. So I'll be posting that information soon. Seeing as how I moved not long ago. So I'm trying to find kind of the best place for the munch, and then that'll be a place people can come to talk to me about this stuff. Best
way be through FetLife or through your website?
Definitely the best way is through my website. If they're not comfortable with that, that's fine. But in all honesty, I'm still going to send you the form in a Word document, and you're still going to fill it out because I still need that information. So my website's really the easiest way to send that to me.
Okay, great. So I know that you you teach some classes, and all that stuff is on your website. So I'm not going to ask you to just list all of them, but what is one of your favorite classes that you teach?
Well, I love teaching like really beginning level shibari, where people have not, they just, they've been using these crappy little handcuffs, and the handcuffs have been causing problems. And so if I can teach them how to use rope, basically shibari for the bedroom, shibari for your sex life, whatever you want to call it. It's very versatile, useful stuff that allows them to experiment with one another safely using rope. So that is one of my favorite ones. I teach, various different levels. I've not got to this date. I've really not gotten enough people to the point where I feel they're ready for a suspension class. So that's going to be a while.
Okay.
All
right.
But,
I'm sorry. Go.
Oh, it's okay. One of the other ones that I really care about is one that you had mentioned in our email, which is using kink to cope with chronic pain.
Yes.
So it's not like a happy-go-lucky class. It's a very serious subject, and it can be a very painful subject for a lot of people. Definitely. But I it's so important to teach that. The other two I can think of are definitely negotiation and scene safety, because I cannot, and I'm not just a pro dom. I'm very focused and passionate about the kink community in my area. So I'm also a lifestyle dom. And I've witnessed so many misunderstandings that are due to a lack of knowledge of negotiation and utter miscommunications, because they're not communicating their needs. Or I won't get too far into it, but those are really those main classes that I feel like everybody would benefit from.
That is an excellent big hello to Sassy Witch 666, who writes articles for your kinky friend. She has a disability, and she writes articles all about that, about dealing with it. And this is a subject that hits very close to home. You know my story with Lynn, and not only did she have cancer, but she had MRSA at a time.
Oh my God!
Where she totally lost use of her legs, and she like, it took like her a year to learn how to walk again, with physical therapy and stuff like that. And even then, she, like, because of the MRSA, her hip wasn't 100%, so she had to walk slow and stuff like that. And really, for someone who had not only a low self-esteem for most of her life, but then had to deal with all these health issues, kink became a way where she could feel not only loved but worshipped, and sexually expressive. So that is something that I really commend you for doing, for teaching stuff like that, because that, you really love someone when you could, either, you could be kinky with them while either they're very ill, or dealing, or you're very ill. You know what I mean? Like, because you need patience. Yeah. You know what I mean? You need patience and you need understanding. So, but with patience and understanding, let's talk about sadism and masochism, right?
Sure.
Okay. What is the most sadistic or masochistic thing that you have seen or experienced?
Sadistic or masochistic? See, it's a matter of these things are so subjective, and the more experience you have, the less you are surprised or shocked by the level of somebody's sadism or masochism. And there's several tribes all over the world that practice a form of, and this is part of their faith, which is really neat to me, that they practice sadomasochism as part of their faith. And I'm not talking about old school Catholics and they would sew this, that, and the other into their clothing. That we know about that now, but there's still these tribes still exist. These things are still happening where if the person can shove a pipe through and through their body, and usually it's not. Our version of like needle play and medical play is nothing in comparison to what these guys do. So, not to say it isn't painful or important again, but I have seen one of these guys impale himself as a form of prayer.
Wow.
And I just think it's kind of beautiful to me that you are so passionate about this. You're willing to put yourself through that.
Okay.
So it kind of answers both.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. Now let's talk about that, because they're doing it as a form of worship. And as submissives, the submissives that you have, you know, they're requesting things basically from you to do things to them as a form of worship. To, you know, so what is one of the, and I mean this in a positive way, I don't mean this in a negative way, what is one of the weirdest or wildest or strangest things, requests that you got from the submissive?
Well, the one that I found to be, I guess, wild, as well as a little on the, you know, just it, you know, we talk about SSC and rack. This was way beyond rack. This is just so beyond it. You know, he wanted me to tie him to a chair and simulate a death sentence, but not through, like, I can do, you know, I can simulate that with a magic, with a violet wand. Sorry, I said magic wand. With a violet wand, I can kind of simulate that a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Now you're dead. Here, there's your role play. But no, he wanted to be burned to death, and by having scalding water, like basically just having boiled water pour on his body while he's bound to a chair.
Wow.
And then continue with more, as he would put it, torture. And, you know, a lot of us, and I know every program has these stories that they're like, oh, this guy sent me a message and it was just, what the hell? Because there's some sense of personal, like, I need to protect myself just a little bit. There's none of that with them. They just go for the, like, the, I guess, wackiest things sometimes, and the most dangerous things sometimes. And every one of us, we have stories of that, you know?
Definitely. Okay. So
I just wish that, like, I could help by, and I it's kind of a puzzle to me, because when somebody comes up with a really wild suggestion like that, what I want to do is tweak it to where it's safer. And, like, maybe not scalding water. Maybe I'm going to put you in a cold bath. You're going to cool down your body, and then I will pour warm water on you, and it will feel scalding. Things like that. Like, find a way to work with the fantasy without actually harming the individual.
Interesting. That's smart. That's very smart. Okay. So the kink rabbit hole goes deep. There are certain things that I was into. Yes. There are certain things that I was into, you know, 15, 20 years ago that I'm still into, but, like, I never thought I'd be into the stuff that I'm into now. For example, like, I never thought I'd own a custom-made chastity device. When I first started getting into Fendom, stuff like that, that scared the hell out of me. You know what I mean? That was terrifying. And now I'm like, you know, because after you watch a lot of porn, you know, you're like, oh, maybe I'll try it. You know, you know, like, I never thought I'd own a legitimate straitjacket. You know what I mean? I do. I got it for my birthday, and
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty dope. So, what are some new kinks, or fetishes, or whatever you want to call it, that you're just getting into now, or that you want to try, that you're interested in?
I actually had to. We talked about the questions. I actually had to look this one up because anybody that sees my website or my FetLife profile, there's so much there that I've already done. Like, there's this tiny little curious about section and this tiny little, like, hard limit section, and it's not for lack of trying. Like, I've, you know, tried to find as many new kinks as I can, but the end of the day, I guess I stayed away from fire play for quite some time, and that's something I'd love to learn how to do. I'd love to. I personally cannot handle, like, I've tried to bottom for fire play, and my skin is way too sensitive, so I cannot do that as on the receiving end. And I try to put myself through as much as I can safely do this. I try to experience the kink that I'm working with. Like, I try to receive as well as give. So I know what this is about. I know how it feels. I know how my body reacts to it, and I can better work with somebody else. Fire play is just like one of those things I cannot receive, but I'd love to learn more about.
Last night's interview with Miss Cat, she's like a leather queen, and
love me some leather.
yeah, she's a leather queen, and she on the show, she tells me the story that she was doing fire play, to somebody, and they were menstruating. So like they had menstrual blood all over her thighs, and she just does a little thing where she kind of just like over it, and I guess the smell of the fire and the menstrual blood just like permeated the room, and she was like, it was like really powerful and really like check that out. We have a whole we do like I think like 15 minutes just on fireplay. So
wow.
Miss Cat.
Well, there's that. Like there's a couple other ones I can say, like temporary to permanent castration plays always intrigued me.
Okay.
I know, like I went to nursing school. I never finished. Had some stuff going on in my life, and I left during the last year. But I have a very strong understanding of how to accomplish this safely. But I don't have as much experience as I would like, and definitely not with permanent castration. That's just something else.
Now
that other medical play, those are things I'm interested in doing.
Oh, definitely. Now, when it comes to castration play, would it be like chopping it off or chemical castration, or like, because I know that's a big thing. I know a bunch of people are into that.
Yeah, I mean, those are the options. It depends on the person. What are you trying to gain out of this? So yeah, chemical castration is an option. Obtaining the medication, you're gonna have to go through your own doctors and everything to get the medication for that, because it's hormonal, and so I'm not a huge fan of chemical castration because of the physiological effects that accompany it. It's not just that you are chemically castrated, your health changes, your body changes, the way you think changes. So I would want someone to be very cautious and aware of those things. And I've seen temp to permanent castration done with all sorts of different tools. They've like sewn the person's like limp dick inside there, and like it's hard to explain. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos, but like using medical staples, using things like that. Like
there's this one video where she takes the balls and she takes the cock and she just puts it like inside it and just staples it.
Kind of like hot dogs it. That's what I was trying to explain. Like use the balls to hot dog the dick and then staple.
Yeah, that's wild.
And yeah.
All right, BDSM on a budget. Now, I highly recommend that if people have the money, support high-end BDSM products or services or anything, whether it's corporate, or whether it's corsets or toys or professional moms or anything like that. But not everybody has the money, but they still want to be kinky. So I always ask this to everybody, basically, and it doesn't have to be product-based. What is some advice you can give to someone who just wants to be kinky but is broke, just doesn't have the money, or needs to save money?
It's a beautiful thing to experiment with your partner, and you don't need thousands of dollars worth of toys. You're going to want them pretty quickly, I'll tell you that, but you don't need them to start out with. I've advised a couple, and I do love working with couples too, because I'm big on education. I love teaching. That's why, I teach classes. I also, by the way, I build impact toys, and when I have time. So I love helping people figure out how they can accomplish whatever it is they're trying to accomplish on a budget. And one of those things is like, you don't even need restraints, really. You just hold his or her hands up against a wall and act like those are your restraints. You can wrap somebody up. Instead of having a straitjacket, you can use regular cloth to mummify them. You know, there's a million ways you can do that. You can take let me think. If you're really sadistic, you can take old cabling and turn that into a budget whip. You know, there's a lot of ways of doing that. Instead of, like, here's your example. Here's an example. Instead of buying nipple clamps, right? Use one of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Just use one of these guys.
Yeah, I got them too.
Right? Yeah. You use those all over the body for, you know, and there's a lot you can do there.
And that you can do that for like office play, you know, like you can for role play of, like, you know, the boss and the you know, the person, you know, the employee in an office. You know, you take
just be sure to clean whatever it is you're using, just in case you go back to using it for its original purpose. But yeah, like I started out that way. I started out with very little and built over the years, and eventually, you know, got tired of not seeing the toys I wanted to use, and I knew that friends of mine in the community wanted to use, because there's not a lot of toys that are very thuddy, for example. So if thud is your thing, it's very hard to find a toy that is 100% thud and no sting. So I started to experiment and build the toys that I build now. And I finally created the thuddiest toy that anybody's experienced so far, because there's zero sting to it, like no matter how hard you hit. So it's I have a small version of it on me. I have like a tiny version of it on me. But it's paracord wrapped around a steel ball bearing that is 5 pounds. The steel ball bearing this is the big one I'm talking about. It's a 5-pound steel ball bearing. It's about about the size of my hand here. It's about that big. Wow. Sorry. There we go. So it's huge. This is a little one.
Oh my
God. An example. Isn't it cute? Here, I will show you something real quick with this. Sorry about the light, everybody.
But, right.
You know. So I call it the multi-tool because we have the string here. We have the handle. Don't know if you can see this. Let me know. So the handle moves.
Wow.
So you can turn it into a lead. You can turn it into a collar. You can do practically anything with it. And the weight helps you. Well, and it's obviously an impact toy. So this was the first one I ever made. I make much, much larger ones and other paracord whips and things like that.
Oh, we could do a whole episode just on your toys.
Sure. I'd love that.
That would be awesome. Okay. All right. Rapid fire recommendations, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay. They don't have to be kink related. All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
a huge nerd. So, like.
Let's talk about that. Recommend a movie.
I can't think of a movie at the moment, but one of the last, like the two last shows that I watched that were, I'm into hard sci-fi. It's not porn, but it would be nice if it was. But it is much more scientifically oriented sci-fi. So The Expanse is an example, and oh shoot, what was the other one? It's the Takeshi Kovacs story, Altered Carbon.
Oh, I don't know about that one. Do you like Rick and Morty?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
I love Rick and Morty. The interdimensional television episode is amazing. Oh, and on top of that, Chloe Rose, the diabolical sadist, she's a friend of mine. She's done the show a couple times. She has a Pickle Rick strap-on dildo.
Oh, I've seen those. I want one so bad. You know what I did just get, though? I got the Demogorgon dick. Oh. And I got the Ridley Scott looking one, too. So I have a monster dick and I have an alien dick now. So I'm very happy about that. So yeah, and both of those series, you know, the books, in my opinion, are a lot better than the shows, but the shows are just, they're beautiful. They're very well done. Okay. Check that out. So yeah, that, and I guess another recommendation is, if you haven't tried Arabic food before, go try it, because it's amazing.
Yeah, because I grew up in Jersey, and Jersey is very diverse. I mean, there's every kind of food you can think of. There's Middle Eastern, there's Indian food, there's Thai food, there's Asian food, there's Peruvian food, there's Colombian food. You name it, it just goes on and on and on. And a lot of it's very authentic. So, as an Arabic dish, what would you recommend? Oh, no, wait. Let me back up.
Sure.
What's your favorite? and what would you recommend for someone who's never tried any Arabic food before?
So one thing I should mention is I will use the word spice here, but don't take it to mean like hot spice, like a pepper.
Yeah.
Or anything. Unfortunately, we use the same word for two completely different things very often. So a lot of Arabic food is very flavorful, savory, and spicy, but it's not there's no like peppers in it or jalapeno in it or anything like that. So my favorite dish, that's a tough one. It would have to be. So here's two of them. Unless you're Arabic, you're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. But there's one called mlokhiyeh, which is you either use lamb or chicken, but it's a very special. It kind of looks like lettuce, not lettuce, but it looks like. Sorry, my brain go back and forth between the languages. It's called Jew's mallow. Actually, a very strange name for a plant that grows out there. You can find it at most Arabic stores, and it's just this incredibly fragrant, delicious dish. It's rice, then that vegetable that is it's cooked to the point where, like, it's not ready if the consistency is slimy. You just keep cooking it until it gets to a point where it's kind of like spinach, like cooked spinach. But it's much more flavorful. So it's a personal favorite. And mensaf, which is the Jordanian national dish. I think that's a favorite of mine now because I have not had it since 2003. So.
Can you get good Arabic food in America?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's the best place to get it?
It depends on where you are, but look for a place that is family run. That's what you want, is a little like hole in the wall place that's family run. It turned out there's a place called in Northern Virginia. There's a place called the Petra Grill. It's in Prince William County. If you're ever out there, go to the Petra Grill. It turned out I know some of their relatives because they came from Jordan too. The whole family immigrated and they opened this place up. So eating Arabic food in different countries, you're going to have slightly different flavors of the same dish. So I got to taste like my country's home dishes, and it just was wonderful. But you want a family-owned place. And my recommendation is probably start with dips, things like that. Start with anything that just has chicken in it if you're not comfortable with lamb, but your tongue isn't going to burn. You're not going to be in any pain no matter what you eat. So.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so recommend a song.
Well, since we've been talking about domination, and I would have to say it's called Muse, M-U-S-E, Muse by OCAD, O-C-A-D.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
And watch the video because it is so hot.
Now, I have a friend named Skylar, and she is in DC, where you're from, where you are, right? You're in that area, And there are. I always joke around with her about this, about how there are some really like very conservative politician types who are freaky as can be. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or as kinky as me. So do you? I mean, of course, I'm not asking you to name any names or anything like that. But would you say that, like, some of the clientele that you deal with are like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I more.
Yeah. It's, so the more responsibility, the more power that you have in a job, The more secretive it is, the more lives you have, the more lives or money is at stake, the more stressed out an individual becomes, and they'll burn out if they don't take care of themselves.
Definitely.
And for a lot of them, that self-care evolves into, needing a kink session. And it's helps them kind of recenter themselves, as it does for most of us, especially in the community. We recenter ourselves. We come back to, okay, this is not my stressed out self. This is just me. I'm centered. I'm calm. I'm ready for whatever's thrown at me now. So I don't want to say it is therapy, but it is kind of like therapy, in that it helps us cope.
I totally, I would consider it a type of therapy, definitely. I mean, kink has been a very healing thing for me. If it wasn't for kink, I'd probably be doing drugs or crime. You know what I mean? Like,
I can relate.
Yeah,
can relate. It's I get a little like twitchy if I don't play at least like twice a month or something,
Yeah, and then there's also there's two aspects to it which I love. Is that, first of all, me being out as a kinky person. I mean, like, I do this show and I have the site and everything, and there's this comfort that I'm not hiding something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't put it in people's faces. If they want to, watch the show, if they want to read my stuff, that's great. If they want to ask, that's cool too. I don't bring it up in everyday conversation with everybody, except for, unless I'm doing something like this. And, and there's a comfort level to that. And being around people who, like, I don't have to hide that, like, I'm interested in this weird kinky thing. And because there's so many people out there who do not have, I don't want to say courage, or let's just say they're scared to express themselves, or for some reason they can't. Like, they can't.
They're not at the right time in their life.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, I'm very thankful that, like, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like, I don't care what you think of me. This is who I am, and I'm proud of it. And this is my way of giving back to the community. And on top of that, there's, like I said, like Lynn and I, we put the bond in bondage. There's a bond that comes across when you play with somebody, whether it's professional or if it's personal. That really, that makes a difference. Like, it really truly does, as opposed to just like a coworker, who's who's like tech support or something like that. All right, let's have fun. This is the last segment before the plugs. This is what we call the word association game. Okay. So I'm gonna say a word or a phrase, and you say the first thing that pops into your head. Okay. So if I say chastity, you might say lock. All right. But if I say chastity, and let's say you're hungry, you say Arabic food. There's no wrong answer. Okay.
Fair enough.
We can get really silly with this. That's rule number one. Say the first thing that pops in your head. Don't overthink it. I've had people just make noises, right? Just so you know, I'm doing this off the top of my head too. So we're on the same level here. Okay. The second rule is we don't kink shame. So if I say a kink, if I say a kink that, which, that you're probably not into, instead of making fun of it or acting like aghast, just say not my thing. Okay. But then we have the jar. Tangle Blue, I love you. Tangle's a kitten. She likes kitten play, and she's been essential to your kinky friends. And we have a very silly sense of humor, and very absurd. And I don't know what's in this jar. She sent me she gave me a bunch of a jar of pieces of paper, and some of it's kink related, some of it is absolute nonsense. So I don't know what I'm pulling out of this thing. Okay,
go for it.
All right, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let me take a sip of my Perrier at home.
Yeah, that's wise.
Yeah. All right. Strap on dildos.
Extremely fun.
Straight jackets.
Mummification's better.
Oh, knife play.
Very fun. Want more?
Face slapping.
Ah,
The St. Andrew's cross.
harder to build than you would think.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Sissy maids.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sissy maids.
Oh, want one. Very much. Want one now.
That's what I'm telling. I'm saying, like, you know, I'm telling Miss Melissa, I'm like, we should just hire a sissy maid to clean the house. Why don't you just do that? You know, like, you don't even have to hire them; they'll pay you to do it.
I'm looking for the right one, so you know, you got to find somebody you can trust with your home, right?
Yeah, definitely. Now that Craigslist is shut down with the personals, you know, you can.
Yeah.
All right, floggers.
Want more?
Fisting.
Risky.
Pet play.
Fun. Prefer puppies.
Okay. All right. Splashing.
Not my thing. Fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. All right. Wrestling. In a fetish.
Love it.
Okay. Love it.
In a fetish sense, love it very much.
Okay. Tickling.
Never again as a bottom. Never again as a bottom. I've tried it once. Never again as a bottom. Love it as a top.
Okay. Rope play.
Role play? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Rope. I was going to say rope, but yeah, let's do role play.
Can be fun depending on what we're doing. It's not really my thing.
Okay. Chastity.
Huge turn on.
Okay.
So
that's good. Sounding.
Not in my wheelhouse. But I'm told it can be very curing, that it can help a lot of people.
Okay. Oh wait, that's gonna take us. Branding.
I love branding. Can do it due to some medical stuff on my end. It's not as much fun to do if you're like self-administering and things like that for your own health problems. So not really my, like, I know how to do it well, just not something I find erotic.
All right. Latex.
Allergic.
Oh no. Garter
so sad.
Garter belts.
Definitely a must for every sissy.
Okay. Ball gags.
No ball gags with holes in them.
Interesting. Why is that?
No, because it makes such a mess. It makes such a mess. Yeah, the drool makes such a mess, and I'm like, I'm busy trying to put something on your body, and you're drooling down your whole damn chest. I have to get a towel, wipe off the drool so that I can put clothespins on you. Like, we're just gonna use, if you drool, we're just gonna use something else. Maybe just stuff a sock in your mouth, honey.
All right. All right. Nipple torture.
Very fun.
Cock and ball torture.
Even more fun.
Coerced by.
That is something I do not do as a pro. It's something I find very intimate, that I love doing in my private life. Oh. So that's a personal fetish that I there are some things that I just do not do as a pro. Okay. And it could be because I personally love them and they're kind of sacred to me and intimate to me. So that goes in the list of just things to do with the right kind of partner. So.
All right. Let's go to the jar.
Yeah. I'm just realizing most of my answers were like, that's fun. That's also fun. Well, that's fun. Very fun.
There's no wrong answer. Seriously. All right. Sweet dick.
Only with pineapples?
Did you see that video? Was it with the pineapple? Was the woman who jerks off with
that? Yes, that was not a pineapple. I was actually thinking of like eating a ton of pineapple, so sweet dicks. But no, that was grapefruiting.
Grapefruit, yeah, grapefruiting.
That was if whoever you are, if you're watching this, look up grapefruiting on YouTube. Be somewhere safe and quiet and listen to the noise. It is wonderful, the sounds she makes. That's so impressively. That's one hell of a good thing to do with a grapefruit.
That's a pervertible. We're doing a whole episode of pervertibles, of just like taking household and just making them kinky. All right, leash.
Well, I think I just showed you one. Very important. I think leashes can be physical or non-physical. Okay. Leashes are very important.
Cock.
Everybody loves a good cock.
This is okay. Boing.
Pet play?
Yeah, that works. Rabbit. I was talking to this cat yesterday about pet play. She's like, I have a whole zoo. She goes, I've played with dogs, cats, horses, ocelots. I was like, what? And she was like, and I go, what is a pet that you want to play? And what she said, which like melted my heart. She goes, sloths. I have a sloth scarf.
I noticed that. I love sloths. I had a roommate not too long ago who was just like he hated sloths because like their eyes, they don't have white in their eyes. So oh my goodness, so cute. Oh, that is so cute. I love sloths.
Yeah, so do I. I'm like getting obsessed with them. All right, so all right. Piss play or water sports.
I get it, but it's not something that kind of turns me on unless it's really the right person. So it's got to be the right person. Sorry.
Finally, we have reached the end, and this is a dumb pun. Scat.
Oh no, not me at all. No way, no how.
Yeah, it's not my thing either. Okay.
Yeah.
God.
Sorry?
Mistress Qadira, you have been absolutely fantastic. I have been so honored to do this interview. Please stay on the line after we're done because I'd like to talk with you. And I'm not going to waste your time because don't waste a dom's time.
And be honest. Be honest.
Yes, be genuine and
always be genuine.
Yeah. So please take this time, even though everybody who sees this, on the Your Kinky Friends site, I have all the links. I have your new website up on the page and everything like that. You can see all the pictures that you gave us, the beautiful, absolutely beautiful pictures. But please, social media, links, events, anything that you want to promote, go.
I am on Patreon. I am on, let's see, Night Flirt. I'm going to be starting a Facebook group soon for my classes. Let me think what else. There's a couple others. I have to look at this.
Okay.
Because I cannot remember all of them. For goodness sakes. Yeah, of course I can't find it. So I'll say this. My website, my Patreon, definitely important. Night Flirt is fun. But if you really want to get in touch with me, definitely go through the website and be honest about yourself.
Yes, definitely. All right. This is Nicholas Tanek. Go to yourkinkyfriends.com. We have a Patreon as well at YKF, just patreon.com/YKF. We have a Discord chat group. You can get through the website, yourkinkyfriends.com. I'm on Facebook at Nicholas Tanek. We have a YKF group on Facebook. It's a closed group, so no one has to know you're in it. And I'm on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. And then there's also the generic at Friends Kinky at Twitter, and then there's at Nick Tanek on Instagram, and at Friends Kinky on Instagram too. Oh, it's getting late.
Yeah, I forgot Twitter and Instagram. I will say, if you go to there's a page specifically called Links on my website, and it has all my social media stuff. So you could find it all there. I just threw it one place.
Definitely, you could rely on me to promote this interview like crazy, because I loved it. I had a great time.
Thank you. Me too. This was fun.
Yeah. So it's getting late. My Dom is calling me. And remember the cardinal rule, everybody. Be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye.